How do you overcome setbacks and loss? And how do you maintain the right mindset when you face adversity? On today's podcast, we're going to answer those questions with our guest, Angie Wiley. Welcome to Lift Your Future, a podcast that teaches you coping skills through stories, methods, and proven techniques to improve relationships and outcomes in your personal and professional life. I'm Nicole Winkler, a licensed therapist and executive coach. On this podcast, we'll share relatable life experiences designed to help you grow. I will provide easy, practical ways to develop thoughts, feelings, and behaviors to impact your life, both personally and professionally. My goal is simple: to help you lift your future. Welcome to Lift Your Future podcast, Angie. I'm so excited to have you on today. I know when I met you, I was able to hear your story, and I was so inspired by you and everything that you are and everything that you're about, what you do. So I'd love for you to share a little bit of your story with us to inspire our listeners, and then talk about mindset and kind of how you use mindset in the work that you do and how that encompasses outside of the work that you do as well.
Okay, awesome. Yeah, so I feel like I do have to jump back several years and really just kind of start with sharing just my experience when I was young. And I was an athlete, so I played 4 sports in high school, and my first love was basketball, and so I went on and I played college basketball. I did meet my husband in college, he was baseball, so he was playing college baseball, and he was drafted and went on and played in the minor leagues for Seattle Mariners for 4 years. And combine all of that, I've always had a passion for really psychology and the power of the mind. And as an athlete, I could see the impact that had on performance. And then, after sports, I continued to see the impact that, what I felt like I had developed through sports really had an impact on my professional career as well. And I ended up in medical device, and I spent 22 years in medical device, and 11 of those were in sales. And then the last 11 was in sales management. So I really had an opportunity to coach people, if you will, in the professional world too. And really, before I jumped into that career, I had, I call them taps. And so even when I was young, I had kind of this, which I felt like was an internal tap that I was supposed to do something in regards to the mental game or the mindset for youth and for youth athletes, because I could see where I had opportunities to gain a lot of it, but I didn't feel like it was taught. And then again, in that professional world, I saw the impact of what that had on people when they didn't have that strong mindset. And so then, through life and our kids, I watched our kids in sports, and of course we're an athletic family. And so then firsthand again, it's like I'm sitting and watching and seeing, it's like athletes, they do the physical game over and over again, but really that mental side of the game gets left out. And so that internal tap that I have really never left through all of those years. And I've said before, I'm kind of a nerd when it comes to personal development, professional development, psychology of performance, all of that, because all of those years that I was driving around working in the professional world, I was listening. So, kind of automobile university, if you will, but that's what I listened to. It's what I read. And so I was always taking notes and had this vision that I knew that I was supposed to do something with it. And it was 2012. So I was still a sales manager. And I was hitting, I think I was around 40 at the time, just to share where I'm at. But I hired a coach. I hired a life coach because I was in a busy world. I had 2 kids in sports. I had a career, but this thing of knowing I was supposed to do something was still there. So I hired a life coach just to start, inching along, even, if you will, in the direction of it. And I had no idea what it was supposed to look like, what I was going to do with it. but just kind of started moving. And then in January of 2013 was when I was in my office on a call. My husband was in the office with me. And my story gets emotional, as you know.
It does. And that's part of why it's so inspiring.
It was then that the name of our company came about, and the name of the company is You Are Strong. And I've laughed before because I've done speaking events, and I've said, you all went to this speaking event and it's called You Are Strong. And they're like, I don't know, but she cried several times. So it's like I can laugh and cry at the same time, but there's just a lot of meaning there.
There's strength in emotions, a lot of strength in emotions. And
because it was, so 2013, the company was named You Are Strong. And I started boot camps for athletes. So I was doing it just in my free time. My daughter was around middle school through those years. And I just started doing it locally, and I kind of developed it as I went. And so what we didn't know was going to happen in 2014, in October 2014, Jaden, my daughter, was still middle school. Logan was a senior. Our oldest daughter was 24 at the time. And Chuck and I were going out of town, but he was sick again. And he had been sick twice with bronchitis. So we just stopped in urgent care thinking, we were going to get an antibiotic and go on. But what unfolded was through a series of, doctor's appointments and scans and tests, he was diagnosed with lung cancer. He was 44 and an athlete, working out, running. We were seemingly still a young, healthy family at the time. And we didn't get good what we wanted to hear from medical doctors, if you will. Went to MD Anderson. And so we chose holistic treatment. And so we did a very extensive holistic treatment for the next 3 years. And he did really well with that. And so I continued to build You Are Strong, continued to work. And Logan went on and was in college baseball at the time. And so we had a lot on our plate, but through that time, I do look at the time that we went through that with him, and more than ever in my life, I really learned to live in the moment. Mm-hmm. Right. And I feel like I really learned You Are Strong at a whole nother level. So that mental game that I was teaching athletes, I had to take on myself. Again, not as an athlete, but in life, and really do the work extensively to stay happy and to stay in the moment and to not look ahead, because looking ahead could put you on a downward spiral, right? And so there was a lot of work to be done there. And as I continued building, I also started a mastermind for women, and that group was going well, and we came together once a month. And I remember sitting at the kitchen table and talking to Chuck about, okay, what's next? And this gets me emotional too, but he goes, what are you waiting for? And so I've used that for working with a lot of adults and in the women's mastermind, because I think, sometimes we just want to wait until we feel like life is lined up perfectly before we're going to move, and we're going to move on our dream or move on that tap, what I call it. And so that question has just always stuck with me. What are you waiting for? And when he said that, what ended up coming out of that is I brought together, it happened to be women in my group at that point, but we came together and we did a live event, and we put together a live event in about 8 weeks. And so it was just kind of a powerful thing at that point in our life, that we were able to do that. And it had a great outcome, and it pushed a lot of people that I was working with even to get up and speak from the stage and to take that next step. And really, it just kind of kept us all moving in that direction that we wanted to go.
Because what are you waiting for?
Because what are you waiting for, right? And so I still ask myself that now, what am I waiting for?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So.
And then throughout this journey, Chuck, he got sicker, right?
Yes. So we did holistic treatment for 3 years, and then we went to holistic and medical. Mm-hmm. And I did stop You Are Strong in 2018 because I just had to pull back, knowing that, my energy needed to be put towards him and my family. And he passed. Mm-hmm. In 2020. I always knew that I would come back to You Are Strong at some point, whether it was with him or without him. And I know that he would have wanted that. And I do believe that, throughout that time, we had plenty of discussions, and we both knew that there was a bigger purpose. Mm-hmm. I do still believe things happen in life. I believed I grew tremendously during that time. And I think he knew too, whether it was with him or without him, there was a bigger purpose in what we were going through and what our family was going through. And we did somewhat share our journey throughout. And I think people did see us as a family who lived in the moment. And, we were happy in the moments, even in light of what we were facing, because I looked at it as if you are going to just let your state go down and live in a down state, like every moment that we lived in a worry about something that wasn't actually happening at that point, we lose those moments. And so I really, really worked on focus during that time to absolutely live in the moments, because those moments were the moments. Do what?
It impacts your mood, and it impacts how you interact with each other and the communication that you have.
Absolutely. And so we were able to have so many wonderful moments, enjoy life. We did so many things as a family during that time, and we didn't take any of it for granted. Mm-hmm. So it was powerful. And in 2020, when he passed, Chuck was a really big giver, just always wanted to help take care of people, of all ages. But with our family and the passion that we had for youth sports, I do just want to share that we did start a foundation in his name, and it's called the Chuck Wiley Athletic Foundation. And that foundation was set up for the purpose of helping youth athletes in need. So for all of the parents out there who have, children in sports, the cost and the financial burden that can be. And what we didn't want to see happen or didn't have happen is someone not be able to participate due to finances. And so we really try to help, the athletes financially that need help in order to participate. And so there's really no boundaries there. In regards to that, I had a wonderful friend that has started in yearly baseball tournament in Chuck's name. And so that is our fundraiser, and all of those funds, 100% of what we make from that goes back to help youth athletes.
And so with that, how would you identify, or how would you even put into words what your mindset is, and how you've gotten through such tough times and such beautiful times as well?
So I did share that I stopped You Are Strong in 2018. And then I started back in 2021. And so I'm actually blessed to say that's what I'm doing full time now. And I really look at You Are Strong. It is the foundation of that is my faith, and just believing, that I really do believe God's always got my back, and things work out, and things have a purpose. And it really depends on how we look at things in life. And so the things that I teach and train on is that your internal strength and your internal spirit. And a lot of that starts with your thoughts and what are you thinking? And then that moves into our thoughts, impact our emotions and how we're feeling, and how we're feeling ultimately impacts the actions that we take and what we decide to do. And that ultimately is the outcome, is our performance. And so what I get so excited about working with youth athletes is the fact that it does have a positive impact on their performance, but I know that is going to carry on throughout their life, because I've seen it in every aspect of my life, professionally, life challenges, which each and every one of us is going to face to some degree. And then I do believe so many of us have big dreams, and we feel like there's a bigger purpose. And how do you take that and continue to move forward? And so your mindset is the very foundation too that's going to help people move forward in regards to whatever that dream is for them, whatever that purpose is. And it could seem big or small, but we do have to have the right mindset and belief in ourselves to be able to start taking actions to move in those directions.
And I hear a lot of psychology in that. Like you said, you listen to a lot of books on tape or audiobooks and things like that throughout your career. But before that, you were already doing the work, and you were already learning about your own mindset and how you talk to yourself and what you tell yourself, how that impacts how you feel, and then how you performed on the court or off the court. But I also hear in that how important that was for you to get through really tough times in your life as well.
Yes.
And driving on that strength.
Yes, absolutely. And I think that's what I feel like, and this is kind of where my faith is, I guess, because to create a company called You Are Strong, right? And the principles behind it, and then to have to face what we faced, right? And I do think it's the internal strength I had from already starting to teach that to the youth, but then those personal experiences of really hard that you have to go through. And, when I say I stopped, You Are Strong in 2018, that's probably when I started doing some of the deepest work. And I spent so much time doing that mental work and spending the time making sure that that my state was where it needed to be. And that's, one thing that I work with athletes on now is we all have high states and we all have low states, and that's in regards to our emotion. But, what we're thinking about is what leads us to those states. And so I don't, going through what I went through and having to control my own state through that, I don't feel like there's an athlete now, and some of them have had really big challenges, but I don't feel like there's a challenge out there that I don't feel like I've had to work through to some degree myself because of how much work I had to do through that time period, right? So I see purpose in that, and with that purpose and going through hard, I feel like now I come to how can I serve? How can I help? And where can I help make a difference? because I don't want that, the hard and what I had to go through really kept to myself, right? I want that to be, given out and shared and taught to others, because it is the very thing that got us through. And I think it helped pull my family through as well. And just even our children being able to see how him and I were able to, for the most part, stay strong through that. And anybody who goes through that, you're going to ebb and flow, right? But for the most part, I really feel like we stayed strong, and we were able to stay happy and live in the moment. So,
yeah, you were very conscious of how you showed up every day. And
yes,
it's a great
absolutely.
reminder that we're not guaranteed anything. We're not guaranteed tomorrow. We're just simply not. And so to live today to its fullest and be present and not have anxiety about the future. Obviously, we can plan, but really being present, because sometimes things come and sideswipe you. But your mindset is so incredibly important from the time that we're children through high school, through college, and beyond, because the skills that you teach your athletes are skills that you have utilized as an adult to get you through one of the most difficult. I mean, you are strong. You're one of the strongest people I know. And the optimism that you show up with, and your desire to help other people and teach athletes and work with parents on mindset, and not just being optimistic, not just looking at the silver lining, but really being in control of your thought process, identifying what it is. What are you feeling? How can you channel those emotions to give you power instead of bring you down, whether that be in life or on the court or the field. And that's what I admire about what you do and the work that you do, because I know it comes from your heart so deep in who you are, and having faced some extremely difficult challenges as well as a family.
Yes, thank you.
Yes, of course. And so, I guess I alluded to kind of how you can use the mindset work that you do into adulthood, or past, on and off the court or on and off the field. How would you best describe that when you work with people? Or, I talk a lot about mindset too, more from like a leadership, business, life, communication, relationship standpoint. But I would gather that there's a lot of things that intertwine and go hand in hand with that.
Yes. Yeah. So I do, so what I do now with athletes, I do have an 8-week online program, and I share the 8 weeks only because really, truly, the way we think, right, and then the way we respond and how we feel, how we, respond to whatever situation it is coming at us, those are habits. It's habits of thought. It's a habit of emotion, a habit of thinking. And so I really do want to work with athletes, and you mentioned it earlier, parents. Like, I don't want to work just with athletes, but I do pull parents into the program as well. That way it's a unit. And but I do the 8 weeks because it takes a minimum of 60 days to even start changing our habits. And so I want them for that time period and the repetition, and they hear from me every single day, really on working on starting to shift on what their thinking is, how they think, how they perceive, and then that's ultimately going to start shifting and changing how they feel and being able to control their state. And there's nothing better for me when I work with an athlete, and after we're finished and I'm following up with them, and I've had some athletes go through some pretty challenging things, and it just makes me smile whenever I get on the phone with them on a one-on-one coaching call, and they're like, I'm good, and their whole state is different than when we started. But so many times their situation hasn't changed, but the way they show up and how they feel has changed. And you can tell, you could just see the difference in them. And I've heard them even say, I can control my state now. I can self-regulate. And so then there's nothing better for me when I kind of feel like they don't need me anymore and they're starting to get the principles. Now, I say don't need me anymore. I really encourage a growth mindset because I think a strong mind obviously is one that continues to grow. And I still continue to read and listen and journal and do stuff every single day to grow my own mindset because I want to continue learning, and that growth mindset's important. But I feel like that, when I hear that from them, it's given them the foundation to get them started, and I see them shift and I see them smile. I've had to give athletes permission to be happy at times, which sounds crazy, but there, so many times, and people in general are too, like we're competitive. We all want to do well. But sometimes with that competitive spirit that we have inside, it ends up just being layers and layers of stress and pressure on ourselves and feeling like we're not enough. And before you know it, it's hard to live happy and to have those moments in life, which, I think going what I've gone through now, it's like the most important thing is, that peace and happiness in life and finding that internally inside of you. And then, the high performance and all of that is a wonderful side effect of a very strong mindset. So anyway, that's kind of what I take athletes through. And another thing that I do talk about a lot is teaching them to not give their power away. Mm-hmm. And by that, I mean, so to talk in terms of athletes, whether it's a super intense coach, right? And most coaches always mean well, but sometimes athletes have a hard time taking that instruction and letting go of the yelling or what feels like negativity. It could be that. It could be a teammate who's, not on your side, for lack of better words, or, they're teenagers. So they even deal with, the social media and school and friends, and all of those things outside of us are potentials where they could give their power away. And I really start teaching them what that means to give your power away. And that's to give away your thoughts and your emotions, right? So if somebody says something negative to you, you listen to it, you take on that internal thought process, and then before you know it, right, your thoughts lead to your emotions. So then their confidence drop and the self-doubt is back. And so those are things that I teach in terms of giving your power away and how to not do that.
Yeah, I call that who has life. Your keys. I always ask, who has your keys? Who's driving your car? Who's driving your bus?
Right.
So to speak, yes. Who's in charge of you? Who's in control of you?
Who's in charge?
And if you give those away, what does that do to you? What is the outcome of that? And how to keep your keys and how not to give them away. So very similar concepts.
Yes. Just different verbiage, different stories to teach those basic principles.
Yes, but how important it is for both, not just athletes, not just people, not just teenagers, not just adults, not just children, but how this is a mindset, and that growth mindset. I love that you brought that up. I talked about that on the last episode, about that growth mindset versus a fixed mindset. And, that fixed mindset of, well, I'm never going to do it, or I can't do it, or, adding on yet and adding on, no, you can't do that yet, but you will be able to do that. If you work hard enough, you have a positive mindset, you keep going. And I see that with envisioning, what do you want your life to look like? What do you want your future to look like? And how to make that happen. Because when we do have that growth mindset, we are far more capable, positive, optimistic, and we know that there's like this unbelievable area of opportunity for us. In a fixed mindset, we're very narrow-minded and things are not as possible. And so I love that you brought that up.
Absolutely. I try to leave them all with that as well. So
you're doing amazing work. And I love meeting with you. I love talking with you. I'm so happy to have you on the podcast today to share your story, because it's inspiring. It's transformational. It's your own journey. You are strong, which is the perfect name for your company, and you're changing lives. and not just for, not just for athletics and not just for the team element, for life going forward.
Yeah, thank you. And that is what I get most passionate about. Is I've told some parents that I feel like I have this mindset training, but it really is kind of disguised as what I get so excited about, because I know that it's going to impact their life. And I've even had parents that have messaged me and said, "Oh my gosh, I'm so glad that I'm included in this. I find myself going back and re-looking at your messages." And so, because it really, truly, it's the same, right? Teaching the mindset is the same, whether it's for an athlete or for the adult, that's going for the thing that they want to go for. So mindset training is so important for all of us.
Mm-hmm. So I have a few takeaways from our discussion today. One of them is living in the moment and being grateful for what we have and living today and not getting too carried away with what could happen or might happen. Another one is, being in control of your mindset and that growth mindset piece, but also your state, that you have control of the state that you're in, high or low. And then something I speak a lot about too is your thoughts are so important, and how we talk to ourselves and the messages, our thinking is so important, because it does affect our emotions and how we feel, which in turn does affect our behavior and how we show up in the world, whether that be with friends, family, at work, on the court, with our teammates. And so those are my main takeaways from our discussion today.
I love it.
Do you have anything that you'd like to add?
The only thing is, whoever is listening out there, is what are you waiting for? Right?
Yes. Yes. What are you waiting for?
What are you waiting for? So
absolutely,
that would be it. Take action, get started.
I love that. Thank you so much for being on today. I really appreciate you and all the work that you're doing.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it. Thanks, Nicole. Blessed to have gotten to know you.
Yes, it's awesome. Thanks, Angie.